everybody. This is Marcia McMahon back again with a message from Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and David Wilcox. In other words, she's commenting on David Wilcox and Wynn. And for those of us that knew him, or both of them, and what they're doing now in the afterlife. And also, this message is focused on world peace for everyone. So it's a pretty important message, and I'd like to bring you up to date with a few things on my schedule that are happening, and then also introduce my new website. So I'm going to do a screen share first, and then I will get to Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene's message on world peace. So this is kind of a meditation and a channeling at the same time. So I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint first and share that. And this is, I'm going to go back. These are my paintings. And I'm going to go back to my announcement, which is that I have a new website. And my old website was called Diana Speaks to the World, and it featured a lot of my art and watercolors of Diana and Mary Magdalene. And this new one has a lot more art, and it's more up to date. It's called Princess Diana and Mary for World Peace, because that's what they keep speaking to me about. I've been a professional channel for Diana since 2001, and I've been on YouTube a while. But one of my stations has been, I don't know, consolidated with another station. And so I can't get back the same station. So if you would, please remember to like and subscribe and share this video around, because these are very important messages, and I've been authenticated all around the world by other famous mediums and people that knew Diana in life. So 25 years is a long time to have worked with Diana, but today's message is just from Mother Mary. I'll be doing a separate message of what Diana has to say for world peace too. So it's featuring watercolors and angelic Reiki healing and angel messages. I'm a psychic medium, and I do messages from Archangel Michael, and I've written some books with the angels. And then I do a monthly Circle of the Rose gathering, which includes mini readings at the end, and anointing and crystal healing and all kinds of other fun things. And I'm teaching an online course this weekend. It's just Reiki level 1 and 2, but I'm also a Reiki master and an angelic Reiki master. And it's a form of Reiki that's very powerful, where you bring in the energies of, say, like Archangel Michael or Archangel Raphael. So it's a really wonderful way to connect and bring in amplified Reiki. So if you're still interested in the class, I have a few more openings left, and I could take you for an online class. That's May 16th and 17th. The date of the recording today is May 14th. So moving on then, we have Archangel Michael to the right here, and he is, the full title is Archangel Leading the Way to Ascension. And that is how I see Michael, and I began to use wet watercolor with the Hubble telescope pictures of the other universes that were coming out. And I've published a book with Michael called Ascension Teachings with Archangel Michael, which relates directly to this talk, by the way. And it's the Ascension Teachings talks about how the angels created all of the different universes, so at least in the Milky Way galaxy. So it's pretty interesting stuff, and I wrote it in 2013, and most of the predictions, if not all, have come true. And it's all about what to expect with Earth changes and upgrades to our collective awakening awareness in the fifth dimension. So I was onto this much sooner, and I formally hosted the show Peaceful Planet with BBS Radio, and that is where the connection to both Winfrey and David Wilcox come in, because I believe I had Winfrey on the show quite a few times, and then I knew of David because of interviewing Wynn, who was his biographer. So this painting to the left is on my new website, and that's Diana Angel of Althorpe. And that is actually Diana, as I saw her in my mind's eye, ascending to heaven. And she's buried on the island in front of the Diana Temple at Althorpe Estate, which is in the west of England. And so basically, this was an inspirational creation that I created a long time ago, but both these original paintings are still available and for sale on my website. And I do have quite a few in museums and collections all over. So if you would like to acquire a painting, please let me know through the email. The email is showing under the identifier on the Zoom. So it's easy to reach me. So anyway, I'm very proud of all my inspirational watercolors. And this is recommended reading, Ascension Teachings with Archangel Michael by Marcia McMahon. That's me, yours truly. And as I said, it's a short and brief read, and it's all about the hopeful age that we're stepping into, and things may not look very hopeful with the Iran war and all that's going on. Hopefully this will be the last hurrah, as Mother Mary called it, before we start to awaken in consciousness to where we don't need war anymore. And we also pray for our world leaders that they will be successful in time in ending the wars, but not if the military is building up so much. And since it was recently Mother's Day, I'm sending a happy Mother's Day, Heavenly Mother's Day to Marla McMahon, my dear mother, with all my love. And she was a very beautiful woman here, and she was only 18 when that picture was taken so long ago. And I've painted her portrait too. So other recommended reading and also the Reiki class happening from 12 to 4:30 Saturday and Sunday. And then I will be teaching angelic Reiki in the midsummer after people are attuned to Reiki level 1 and 2. You don't have to be a master to attend angelic Reiki, but you have to feel desire to become more psychic and connect with the archangels. So this is Reiki, the Healing Touch by William Rand. A lot of you Reiki people will be familiar with his wonderful book, and it's the most simple book to understand the Reiki with. And then the raw material, which is also called The Law of One, was written by Carla Ruckert, and that was written sometime in the early 2000s, and it is on llresearch.org, and that is Carla's actual website, and Carla is now in spirit too. So basically, Carla, Wynn, and David are all linked by the raw material or the Law of One material. And I was hosting the BBS show, The Peaceful Planet, when I was getting to know both Carla and Wynn. And then David is also in my soul group because we channel both Archangel Michael and Ra, the collective. And Ra is a collective ascended consciousness. And as I understand it, they told me that Venus ascended some 13 million years ago or something, a very long time ago. And I don't contact the Ra group very much. I don't go out of my way to contact. They contacted me with the request that their messages be included in the book. But it's primarily Archangel Michael who I work with. And I don't channel them anymore. Carla's husband was working on her project since the 80s, and she's the more renowned channeler for the raw material, and she decided to narrow her scope because there's a wide variety of ascended beings that she was channeling, and she said it might be harmful. I've never experienced any harm, and I've asked about it, whether it was safe, but she said that she channels a select group of known as the Quo. So she would take these questions, and the answers were so eloquent. So you do want to check out the raw material because it's source material, and it's about the formation of our universe and our Earth and our moon and all kinds of interesting astronomical events that happened way back in prehistory, some of which would have been recorded in the Mesopotamian writings. And I'm an art history scholar as well. I'm retired from my job as an art teacher, K-12, and then teaching art and design and painting and art history in the community college as well. So I have a lot of experience and knowledge about ancient civilizations. So what I want to touch on next is David Wilcox and his work and how he's connected to the Ra group. So many of you know him as the light worker and starseed, and a famous guy that was on Ancient Aliens, and he was all of that. And he died recently, and I wanted to get to the real truth and the bottom of it because there were so many conspiracy theories floating about, and my intuition tells me that he actually did check out and he did commit suicide, and that is exactly what Mother Mary said, but I will read you her message separately. But his important contributions can't be underestimated, and he was involved in exploring other ET civilizations and also began his work as a channel. And the book that Wynn put together was titled The Reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. And I interviewed Wynn when the book first came out, and it was very well researched, and Wynn had presented a lot of pictures of Edgar Cayce that looked almost like an exact double of David Wilcox. So it was a fascinating read, both the raw material and the autobiography of Edgar Cayce and David Wilcox together, The Reincarnation, was proven in my mind. And they all, Wilcox was channeling Ra, and I channel Ra, and Carla Ruckert channeled Ra, and these people were instrumental in bringing David's career out. Without the two of them, he would not have gotten as far in and made it into the Hollywood scene and Gaia TV and all of that, where you probably watched him on Ancient Aliens. So he was a very fascinating character. I say character because I think he was a quite eccentric person and very brilliant kind of genius guy. He had a tech business that Savati that was building free energy sources and kind of living structures of some sort that would move on their own without the use of natural propulsion like we do now. So this technology has been available and bioengineered and reverse engineered, and he was bringing that out on Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia. And a lot of the people on the Gaia TV went on for a while to host it, and then suddenly they're all disappearing. So people naturally would think that was his death was suspicious, but it has been pretty much documented what happened tragically to David, and I don't feel the need to go into that. It's been published all over, but basically he called in to the sheriff's department, said, "I'm sorry, I have to leave now." The police came out, or the sheriff came out, and then he disappeared in the house, and then they came back out, and he did the deed. It was witnessed to, but I don't think it's been fully investigated. Nonetheless, I have to say that I know that he had a lot of debt, and he was struggling emotionally since his divorce. So all of that can be quite devastating. And as light workers, we're all in the same boat with, being out there, crying in the desert, as it were, as Elijah and John the Baptist were, giving their prophecy. And even, in the scope of his short life, he accomplished very much and gave prophecy and was looking forward to the time of disclosure. Oddly enough, disclosure happens. I mean, within 10 days of his death, they're starting to release all these files. So I know he was working very hard, and you can, also reference the fine work of Dr. Greer on that too. But Winfrey launched his career by writing The Reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. He started out his career as a psychic, and then he began, and a channeler, and then he began investigating UFOs and ultra new technology and understanding how the universe works and the pineal gland. And he got into all kinds of things. And what people would think as, conspiracy, but a lot of the conspiracy actually kind of turns out to be true these days, So he was a very much a starseed and ahead of time, his time. And then I want to give tribute and thanks to for Winfrey, author of The Reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, and he is connected to the Ra group and Carla Ruckert. So Wynn talked a lot to me about the Ra group having been present in Egypt. I know that he highlighted one of David's lifetimes in Egypt, where he was known as Ra-Ta, one of the early pharaohs, not documented in the Egyptian history very far back. So there are new theories about how old Egypt really is, and it does go back to the times of Atlantean times, and some of the records are no longer there or soon to be discovered, possibly connection with the Sphinx. So there's, they believe that Ra was the sun god. To be more accurate, Ra is a collective from Venus that graduated, and they speak with great eloquence about the coming times of Earth. And then Carla is the one to be credited with all the hard work. She channeled Ra for over 30 years, and I personally knew her too, and she was just so sweet and so intelligent. And then Winfrey had some sort of degree from a California university, like something like UCLA or something, and he had a physics degree, and he was an excellent writer, and he documented everything and had to prove everything to his questioning mind. So again, he really helped along with Carla Ruckert, to launch David's career. So there's an old saying that you don't get there alone, and that's very true. And so these two were instrumental, and I was friends with both of these people. And then I knew David only a little bit, only through email, and I had gone to some of his lives, but I was not particularly a follower of his work. But, in retrospect, I realized the contribution that he made. So we're all here to send our love to these two people today. If you would do so by sending them to the light, especially I know David's still in the grieving process, as Mother Mary has pointed out. And then again, I want to thank you for honoring these light workers and all the guides and the masters that I'm calling in today that I work with. And then, of course, this is copyrighted material, and that is the website Princess Diana and Mary for World Peace, where you can see Archangel Michael's books, and you can see two of my books with Princess Diana, and then my best-selling book, Mary Magdalene Speaks, The Holy Grail, Bloodline, and Secrets of the Divine Feminine. And then if you want to research more about Carla Ruckert, her work is highlighted at llresearch.org, and that stands for lovelightresearch.org. Sounds like, some sort of university, or right. It's love and light, okay? So it's pretty cool, the stuff they did. And they still have a little Camelot garden down there, and her husband still tends all the grounds, and I hear it's very beautiful. And at one point, I think Carla actually took care of David, and he stayed right in the place where Edgar Cayce had lived. So Carla was living in Kentucky, very nearby where Cayce was from in Kentucky. And then I think David showed up at in Virginia Beach, where the Cayce Foundation is, and Edgar Cayce left notes extensively that he would be reincarnating in this new age of light, and that he would be coming back to Atlantic City in 1998. And in fact, that happened. It was documented in Winfrey's book, The Reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, and he was at the cookie walk or something and trying to tell these people that he was really Edgar Cayce and reincarnated, and they didn't believe him. So, if Jesus comes back tomorrow, would they really believe that person? So Divine Cosmos, while it's still up, you can still catch David Wilcox's amazing channeling and other amazing research. And then I want to mention my artwork and all the prints that are available. You can buy an original. You can also buy print, and most of my prints are sold, but this is an original, and it doesn't have a print. This big one behind me is called Diana, Lady of Fashion with Rose, and I paint her with the roses and with the style of her gowns, and I also paint her in her working princess gowns, and also casuals, jeans, and things that she wore when she went to Angola and worked with African and dying children. Here she is, Diana with a blind dying child to the left, and then Princess in Pink to the right. So this child was blinded by a brain tumor, and I've since had a brain tumor. I know what it's like to go through that, and I had to have brain surgery, and this is a little scar here, but I recovered well. But I have a little sometimes I have a little tongue tiredness, and that's because of the surgery, and it affected my speech a bit, but it's not anything that I couldn't overcome. So I'm one of those rare people that had a miracle and got through stage 4 cancer. So I'm totally well, and I have been well. So I'm a healer as well as a channel. Now to the right, this is my classic Diana, Princess in Pink with Rose. And so these are still available as watercolors or as prints. And then the last page I want to share with you is Mary Magdalene with roses to the left, and then Mother Mary, Sea and Sky to the right, and that would be representing Mother Mary over all the creation, because she is Divine Mother. And this is not a Catholic point of view. This is how I know her, because I've worked with her for over 20 years, both channeling her and painting her, but primarily channeling her. And so I want to thank you for listening carefully to this part of the presentation. And if you would stay with me, please, because the best is yet to come. We have featuring Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene speaking on world peace, and the transition of David Wilcox and Winfrey. So I'm going to bring through Mother Mary. We come to you today with the main message and a blessing. This is Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, and we've waited to speak with you and your group for some time. What is it that you wish to reveal today, Mary? ? We greet you in the white light, O sacred vessel. You are still working for the forces of light on this planet, and we are glad to see you in your role, which will be expanding greatly in the next few months. We are happy to see the flowers blooming and the spring finally coming to your hemisphere, and many open-hearted conversations that are being had about David Wilcox, the soul you knew as David Wilcox. We are currently working with him and his soul group to further enhance the cosmic understanding, for he was one that laid a path of love and respect of the Creator as well. and he will be moving further on upward into the ascension role once he has rested in the in-between. He is currently reuniting with the other members of his soul group and his family, namely those who launched his career, namely Wynn and Carla Ruckert, and the members of the Ra group collective, the One Infinite Creator. The Ra group, best channeled by Carla Ruckert and then by David, is also a soul connection that you have, Marcia. We wish to honor this connection and confirm that it is from the Confederation of Light that is working through you, Marcia, as well as they previously worked through David and Carla. We are rejoicing and receiving him in his home, his heavenly home. He will be further advancing his work with other star systems and beings, but just now we would receive the prayers and uplift him in his grief, for he had a moment of despair and hopelessness, and we confirm that he also was under numerous attacks from many different sources, both internal darkness and external darkness that prevailed as he spoke greater and greater volumes of light to the planet and the public. So we ask that you send them the rose energy. So would you just please imagine the rose being in your heart right now and healing and transitioning into the light of the Christ consciousness with which he spoke so eloquently before his passing. He did give one final message, and I think you should look that up. There will be some who will say that he never died, and there will be others who say that he was taken out or removed by the darker forces, and this is not so. So listen to your own heart in these channelings and know what you know is truth, and do not accept another version of another's truth for your own. In other words, she's saying, with all channeling, use your discernment. For you can also tune into him, and he will become an ascended master and guide many. But for right now, just send him as much light and love for the journey that you can. His new journey will be working with other planetary grid systems for their enlightenment, but he found that Earth was a plane to be too heavy, too harsh, and too dark at this time. And he was a bit lost in that darkness. But we receive him into the heavenly light and realms, for he had been working with me and Archangel Michael and other of the disciples. Marcia, I see him in a white robe. Is that correct, Mary? Yes, he is a member of the White Brotherhood, which spans both time and space across the universe, if you will pardon the pun. That's a pun on John Lennon, one of my books, John Messages, or Notes from John, Messages from Across the Universe. So that's the title. I see him clothed in a white robe. Yes, pardon the pun, across the universe. We will speak with him directly at another time. Do not attempt to channel just yet, for he's still in the grieving phase, particularly around his mother and his father and his ex-wife. The world feels the loss of great soul, and he seemed crazy to many, including this channel. But we assure you that he had mental instability, but that does not mean he was crazy in the strictest sense. He saw through the crazy system, and he was trying to expose it for what really was a financial warped up system of greed. He was trying to expose the truth while remaining true to himself. So we now gather the rose of healing into our hearts and send out love and healing to David and to Wynn and to your mothers, if they are in spirit, and anyone else that you need to send the rose healing to. And also we send to those who have been removed from the scene, so to speak, from the darker forces, and all that have been suffering the war in Iran, the war in Ukraine, and the war in Russia and Gaza, and all the places of war in the Middle East. Needless to say, these wars are needless, and they only harm humanity. All weaponry and all of this nonsense must come to an end quickly. So he was one like you, Marcia, speaking truth to power and doing his own prophecy in his own way. He's now saying goodbye to family members and others, and they told him too that he was crazy. It was a difficult dilemma, all in all. We wish to move on and to send the heart of the rose to Gaza, the people now suffering still with lack of water and lack of food. And we send light on to those that were taken on board by Israel today and tortured and threatened in Greece, for this is a great violation of the human rights. And these were human rights activists going to do good and act of mercy to help Gazans to feed them. They were not terrorists by any stretch of the imagination. And Israel has no business taking people that are aid workers hostage. That is not to say I don't support the existence of Israel. I very much do, as well as the existence of a possible Palestinian state. And we ask, when will we all learn to live in peace and harmony? So we all ask to pray for peace and a peaceful and diplomatic solution to the dilemma of Iran. We know that a miracle is possible, and so we hold out this possibility, even in the midst of such poor leadership from America and the lack of diplomacy that we know there are behind the scenes talks. And we hope that the leader in Pakistan and some of the other leaders in the Middle East can persuade the United States to accept a moderate conditional agreement along the lines of nuclear disarmament. Israel can be a brute force to have to contend with, and combined with the United States, it's wasting so many tax dollars and killing others. Could you really support such a tyrant going forward when that is all so unnecessary? It is true what the Pope has pointed out, that this is not a just war, or that it is an evil war without a true intention. But we don't often align completely with what the Vatican has to say. But I am saying, because Marcia is a free thinker, she's allowed to think freely, and we do align with this current Pope very strongly and confirm the truth of his words as well as truth of King Charles' words about democracy, freedom, and individual rights, that, namely, each individual has a right to existence. Each individual has a right to reform themselves. Each individual has a right to exist and to live with peace and harmony and enough to eat and clean water upon the planet. So there is this last hurrah, this big war, you would call it, before the time of peace is to arrive. And we would just ask that you surround all the leaders and the minds with the intent upon founding a truthful peace without bribery and without conditions, so that one and all the children of God in the Middle East can live in peace. Arab, Israeli, Muslim, Druze, and Christians and non-Christians, and all other faiths and indigenous as well, so that we might all reach the oneness of creation, of love. So this is your dear Mother Mary speaking, and Mary Magdalene sending out a divine feminine blessing. And we will gather in prayer for others and do a little anointing now. For everyone here, I conclude this message with my message is true, and you can trust the source. If you go to the source within, you will see that it is in fact I, Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene sending out our heart of love today. Send out the rose to all who are suffering at the moment. Send out the rose to the global community of light workers. Amen. And so it is that I conclude this message. If this was meaningful for you, please remember to subscribe and like and share with others. Leave comments about the channeling or the information. And check out my new website, Princess Diana and Mary for World Peace.com. And also check out my courses coming up and my psychic readings and my angelic healing. And blessings to all today. And I send out the power of the rose to each of your hearts. And I now conclude. Amen. Thank you very much. And I'll see you again soon.